Let's discuss something called parallax error. Parallax error is caused when the sights are placed above the projectile. Since bow speed and gravity don't contribute to parallax error, let's simplify the situation. We'll assume a bow with infinite speed and we'll discount the effects of drag and gravity. In this case, we have a bow that shoots in a straight line as shown. We'll start with the shooter's eye directly behind the arrow. This will put the front sight directly in the path of the arrow, but we'll ignore this obvious problem and assume that the arrow can pass directly through the front sight. Now let's position the target. Regardless of whether the target is at 40 yards, 30 yards, 20 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards, or even 2 yards, the position of the front sight does not change. No matter how far away the target is, the sights don't move. We'll keep the same bow with infinite speed and continue to discount drag and gravity, but now let's configure the bow more realistically. Let's place the shooter's eye about 5 inches above the arrow. We'll start with the target at 40 yards. Notice the position of the front sight. As we move the target into 30 yards, notice we must move the front sight slightly lower. As we move to 20 yards, we must move the front sight even lower. As we move the target to distances inside 15 yards, we must lower the front sight significantly. Notice the direction we must move the front sight. It's opposite the direction we move it to compensate for gravity. Now let's look at the same information another way. This graph plots how much we would need to lower the front sight due to parallax error compared to the normal position if we had no parallax error. You can clearly see here that for distances beyond 15 yards, the amount of correction needed to compensate for the parallax error is so small that we can pretty much ignore it. At distances inside 15 yards, parallax error becomes very significant very quickly. At very short distances, it's not uncommon to shoot a pin that is normally used for 60 or 70 yard shots. You can't buy your way out of parallax error. Faster bows don't help. Even a rifle would have parallax error if the rear sight was 4 or 5 inches above the barrel. Next, keep your anchor point as high as possible, consistent with good shooting form. Since the amount of parallax error is a function of the height of your eye with respect to the arrow, using an anchor point that is closer to your eye will reduce the error. Remember though, you don't want to interrupt good shooting form. Finally, practice short shots, especially from your tree stand. Know what pin or sight position to use for very short shots.